In more modern times, we have seen occurrences of periodic episodes of collective panic. The first and most widespread of them took place in Zanzibar in 1995, spreading from Pemba to Unguja and across to the mainland coast. These panics are associated with fear of a spiritual entity called the Popobawa. The name Popobawa translates literally as winged bat, said to be in reference to the outline or dark shadow cast by this entity at night. The name Popobawa is used to describe a group of allegedly 7 people who have been terrorizing islands and giving everyone sleepless nights. A Popobawa roams around at night with a horrible stench, naked, with a cow's tail and a jar containing magic medicine. With the tail covered with magic medicine, Popobawa can split walls and doors open in such a way that it cannot be noticed afterwards. The Popobawa has the power of shapeshifting and is known to attack men, women, and children. With adult men, this entity is known to slip into their homes at night, paralyzing and sodomizing them. Here is the real messed up part. After he sodomizes the men, he then tells them to let 10 other people know what has been done to them. If they refuse, then this creature threatens them with becoming his wife. The men will then tell other people through phone calls, conversations, text messages, and other forms of communications, and notify others of being raped by this creature. This is really screwed up stuff here. As was just mentioned, this entity can take on different forms. Some say he looks like a human being, a tall man, sometimes described as a giant with broad shoulders. Others say he looks like a large bat. Sometimes he is hairy and with claws. Other times he is described as having no body and is able to enter homes even when the windows and doors are locked. Hearing some stories about this entity sounds very much like a theme from Bram Stoker's Dracula meets the 1001 Arabian Nights, as we will soon see. This entity is believed to be summoned and controlled by witches or by a traditional healer. Being linked with sodomy, the Popobawa creature is even described as having an enormous phallic part. Cross-culturally, he is even linked with the tricksters, who are also male and even described as having large phallics, that are even described as having a life of its own. Like all tricksters, the Popobawa is a shapeshifter. Some say he literally changes shape, appearing as a human during the day and in other forms during the night. An occult writer named Karen Carpenter compares this monster to the incubus and succubus, both of whom are shapeshifting demons, who are able to change their form at will into the opposite sex to prey on unsuspecting people. In other versions, it is not that Popobawa actually changes shape, but that different people describe him in different forms, which suggests that the legend itself is constantly shifting. For example, Popobawa is variously described as either a ghost or an orc with gigantic bat wings. Other people describe him as an entity with talons and ears like that of a bat, and wings also like that of a bat, or as a cyclops looking like a dwarf. Other accounts describe him as a tall and broad man, with something white across his face, or as a man so large that you could not see his face or even his shoulders. Some people describe him as having a giant body so large that one could not see where he begins and ends, even described as having a foot the size of someone's bed. Even some descriptions of this entity sound similar to that of Bigfoot, where this entity is described as a body covered with hair and with unusually large fingernails. A documented account of a Popobawa taking on different disguises took place in the suburb of Mazazini, where a woman recognized the Popobawa and had him caught and taken to the police station. He was said to have been naked, and many people claim that this individual then transformed into a bat. It is even documented that someone gave a contradicting version of the same event, where, according to this one person, it was 2 bats which were captured and taken to the police, after which they transformed into a person while in police custody. Another account involves a husband who left his wife at home as he went to buy food. A Popobawa transformed itself into the form of the wife's husband and lured her into bed with him. When she went to touch him, she felt goose pimples all over her body. She then took a good look at him, and he transformed into a hairy entity with unusually long fingernails. Popobawa is also known to be invisible, and in this account, which takes place in Mito Pepo, a Popobawa is said to be invisible to everyone except this one man who ended up seizing this entity's magic charms, which caused this creature to have the spell broken and all of a sudden be seen by everyone else. When people come across a person who is acting strangely that is believed to be the suspected Popobawa, they discover that the individual had a bag with him, carrying such items as an amulet, a small bottle with a strange medicine inside, dry leaves, and so on. The bag has also been described as giving off a foul odor. It is said in the legends that the Popobawa carries a similar bag with similarly described items in them, along with the foul odor as well. People that are possessed by spirits have the ability to go into a trance and see a Popobawa that is invisible to everyone else and alert them of its presence. The result was often general pandemonium, especially when multiple manifestations of Popobawa assaulted different homes simultaneously. In one case, villagers stayed up at night and confronted a man who turned out to be the Popobawa. This entity then vanished in front of them and became invisible, then assaulted the villagers with a stick while in an invisible state, stating to them to not leave their houses to stay up outside. This sounds like the description of a poltergeist case to me. Many individuals believe that a few officials in power summoned the Popobawa to attack many people in order to draw attention away from politics in the run-up to the country's first multi-party elections in October of 1995. It is interesting to note that a massive increase in attacks on people by this creature took place right before the upcoming elections. What is also interesting is that mobs of people came across some lone individuals acting strangely, carrying a smelly bag and a bottle that had a strange concoction. Maybe that concoction was a hallucinogen that this individual was going to drug other people with, which would help explain contradictory reports of the Popobawa, and also why people can all of a sudden see an invisible Popobawa that was originally seen by only one individual within the crowd. Many encounters that people have with this creature sounds a lot like cases of sleep paralysis that has the simulated features of witchcraft, Islamic jinn lore, Western vampire legends, and stories of the trickster as well. The Popobawa appears to be an updated version of the vampire. For example, both the vampire and the Popobawa are sexual predators, believed to be behind pandemics. In the case of the vampire, the plague of widespread sickness and invisible blood drinking. In the case of the Popobawa, the spreading of HIV and AIDS. Both the vampire and the Popobawa are usually invisible to everyone in a group except for one individual, who has the special ability to perceive these entities and to hunt them down for elimination. Some scholars speculate that Western movies have influenced sightings of the Popobawa. For example, people have described the Popobawa as looking like Dracula or Batman. The Popobawa has been described as being that of a tall man with a long coat or a cape. Some supernatural beliefs claim that when he opens up his long coat, he gathers in energy and produces supernatural power as a result. Other beliefs state that conjurers and magicians would summon the Popobawa as a thought form that they would create from energy with their minds. People in Zanzibar that follow the Islamic faith believe that the Popobawa is a jinn, which is a race of supernatural beings that share the universe with angels and man. The jinn has many of the same attributes with both the Popobawa and the vampire, like causing epidemics and sickness, being invisible to everyone except for a few individuals. There could very well have been something out there that could have origins both human and occult. Then later on, the beliefs and experiences of other cultures probably evolved these sightings that people had with the Popobawa. Beliefs and experiences like sleep paralysis, movies, vampires, and the belief in the jinn.